Hey friends, I'm Jamie Maddox, your wealth embodiment mentor. I teach how you are uniquely designed to attract wealth. In this podcast, I talk about body mapping and money. Body mapping is a unique map on your body that gives information, instructions, and direction for you specifically. Each episode, I highlight one area of the body, discuss its features, and more importantly, what that means for you and your money. So welcome. I'm excited to be on this journey together and can't wait to see what your body can teach you about money. Hello, thank you for listening. So glad you're back for another week. Okay, last week we talked about the digestive system. So just a little recap. If you haven't listened, go listen to it. It was a fantastic episode, if I do say so myself. But our gut is our intuition. So listening to our intuition, making decisions, and having a lot of bravery with our decisions, okay? So this week it's kind of like part 2 of the digestive system, because we're going to be talking more about like our teeth and our gums and more like the mouth part of our digestion, okay? So again, as a reminder, our teeth in general are about breaking down decisions. Well, so physically breaking down food, okay? So if the food energetically are the decisions, then our teeth help to break it down, right? So our teeth are fascinating. A few years ago, I was in a mastermind, and this was before I knew anything about body mapping, but I remember one of the ladies shared this interactive, it was an app, but it was just online. Like, apps weren't quite as big at that point, or at least I didn't know that they were. Anyway, but you could like click on the tooth and it would tell you like the energy that it held for that tooth specifically. Because, okay, I feel like I'm a little all over the place. I'm going to get us in line here in just a second. But our teeth do hold emotions and energy, just like anywhere else in the body, right? But I loved this little interactive tool because it was awesome, because I could just go in and be like, oh, what is that tooth? What is that tooth? So I actually tried to find it and it's not working anymore. So I don't know what happened to it, but it's okay because we have body mapping and we still get the information. It's just not interactive yet. Maybe there will be an interactive app for body mapping at someday, some point. Maybe I'll have to make that suggestion. Okay, but our teeth, so if you've had like a toothache or, any sort of like a tooth issue, the first thing is that you're going to want to know, is it on the top or the bottom? Because the top is the feminine and the bottom is the masculine, okay? So that gives us information. And then depending on which tooth, usually the closer to the front, they tend to be more about fear, shame, anger, and then we get to kind of like the side ones, and that's a little bit more of like grief, being overly critical, compulsive, and then our back teeth are more about anxiety, self-abuse, loneliness, acute grief, really being trapped, okay? That was a lot of information, I know. But the reason this is important is because, recently a friend reached out and she was like, Jamie, my tooth is hurting. I might have to have a root canal. Can you body map it for me? I was like, yeah, of course, Anyway, so we were looking at it and it ended up being a grief tooth. And, let's just be real. I don't think any of us super love the sensation of grief and like processing grief. I know that it is not one of my favorites, but it's a necessary one to fill. Okay. So when I said that it was a grief tooth, and as we dug a little deeper with it, it was like, oh yeah, there's definitely some grief that needs to come out, which actually did alleviate her pain for like the next week until she was able to get into the dentist, which was fantastic. But that's why it's important to kind of know what tooth we're looking at, because we want to be able to see, okay, what is that tooth holding in there? So say you have a cavity. The cavities, if it is from more like an inside cavity, that tends to be more to do with like physical diet and also like your mental, how you talk to yourself, okay? Like more of your internal mental state. If the cavity is on the external side of the tooth, on the outside of the tooth, it's usually more of like an outside influence, Okay, so you see how this is kind of coming together. You're like, okay, what tooth is it? What emotion is held there? Is it top or bottom? Okay, is it internal or external? I mean, you would not think there would be this much with teeth, but there's a ton with teeth. Like, it's incredible to me, okay? And again, not that you have to remember all of this, or you can just come back and listen every time you need it, or, come to one of my events or on a retreat with me. And then that's the best part about being on a retreat with me. Well, one of the best parts is that you get to ask me body mapping questions the whole time we're there. And I just body map you and you get the answers that you want and need and are looking for. So there's that. So when you look at it, then you can say, okay, is this something that I need to be looking at internally in myself or an outside influence? Because, my daughter actually, she had quite a few cavities growing up, and a lot of hers were inside cavities. And that was such good information for me to know, because I knew that she was probably being pretty critical of herself. So number one, I was like, I don't want to be critical of her, because she doesn't need someone else saying anything bad about her, right? Like she's obviously being critical enough of herself. And so as her mom, I knew, and again, looking at the specific teeth, it was like, okay, oh, she's got some anxiety. She's got some fear. She's got a lot of anger and resentment. So I was like, great, let's go do an activity together that is going to help you release this anger. Not that I would tell her that, because as we know, sometimes our own children are not super responsive to wanting to do what the parent wants to do, right? But it gave me this information to hopefully potentially help her and release it, whether she knew what we were doing or not. And, and it usually did help, which was fantastic, right? So, okay. So again, going on with teeth and children. Okay. So braces. Let's talk braces. I was just going to say, raise your hand if you've had braces. You're still welcome to raise your hand, even though we're not like in a group setting. But raise your hand if you've had braces, okay? I've had them. I did want them. And so my teeth have actually done really good to stay in place since getting them off. And the reason I say that is because there's so many kids that have braces and then their teeth go right back, right? And so it's kind of like, well, number one, it's kind of frustrating as a parent and sometimes as a kid, right? But because our teeth are about our ability to make decisions, if a child has braces and they weren't necessarily on board fully with having the braces, that's usually when their teeth will revert back, because they weren't necessarily part of the decision making, or they weren't on board fully with the decision to get the braces. And so their teeth are like, and we're back. Now, this is not a time to like beat yourself up or shame yourself or be like, well, great, I just wasted how much money on braces that didn't work and now I know why. Okay, this is not the time for that. But it's understanding of being like, oh, okay, interesting. Because for those of you that have children that may potentially need braces but haven't had them yet, this will be really great. Have the conversation with them. Ask them if they want braces, if they feel like they want their teeth to look different, because they may not want their teeth to look different. They may really like their crooked teeth. But if they don't, and they're like, oh, please get me braces now, then absolutely, if that's in alignment for everything else, then get the braces. And they'll tend to stay better because the child was on board and was part of that decision-making process. Okay, is this making sense? So our gums, and this is actually kind of a fun one, because our gums are about support and nurturing our teeth. Okay, so it's kind of like gumption. I think that's really funny. So, and it's kind of a good way to remember it. Okay, but when you think about it, your gums hold your teeth in place, right? And so it really is about that support and that nurture. So when someone has a big smile and shows a lot of their gums, then that energetically is saying, hey, I give generous support. I'm good at giving support. Look at all my gums. Like here, let me show my gums to you. Okay, right? Not that we do it consciously, but that's energetically what is happening. Okay. Sensitive teeth. For a lot of years, I had really sensitive teeth. I actually don't anymore, which is fantastic. Partly because it hurts when you have sensitive teeth, and partly just because I know the healing behind it. But sensitive teeth is that you tend to be sensitive to making decisions. And, when I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that time period in my life where I had sensitive teeth, I was very sensitive to making decisions because I had been in massively abusive situations for a lot of years, and I did doubt all of my decisions, and I was not in a good mental or emotional place at that time. And so I was like, well, no wonders my teeth were like, I don't know. It just hurts. Right. So that's partly why I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful that I don't have sensitive teeth at this point, because I'm like, oh, that's incredible healing that has happened. And it shows that I do trust myself to a deeper level, again, to make good decisions. Right. Okay. So just kind of some fun ones, because I just think these are just really fun with teeth. Okay, so people that have and these are common questions that I get asked about teeth. So I'm like, let me just tell you, because it's just fun. Okay, so people that have naturally even spaced teeth, or people that chose to have braces and their teeth stayed that way, they tend to be like step-by-step people and pretty self-confident. Okay, those that have big gap in their front teeth, in between the two front teeth, they tend to be intuitive decision makers, kind of more risk takers, but they also need some space between making big decisions. Okay. If someone has, bigger front teeth, they tend to be kind of stubborn. Crooked teeth, they tend to be kind of a mediator, and they can hold themselves to like a really high standard that maybe isn't always possible to reach. People that have like buck teeth at the top, they have usually overcome shyness, and they are really able to be seen for who they are. So that is like a lot of information. So listen to this one a lot of times because it was really good. But all that to say that look how much our body gives us just at the very start, the very beginning of our decision-making process. I mean, we've got support, we've got, all these different teeth that have these different abilities and these capabilities to break things down and to prepare things to go into our body and to give us nourishment. And so I just really love it. And our teeth are so important as we smile, or if you don't like to smile, that's great too. But our teeth can give us a lot of confidence because our decisions can give us a lot of confidence. So building off of last week, again, when we choose into, trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting that we can break down our big decisions, that we can break things down and trust ourselves with it, we show up more confidently. We show up in this greater light, this greater ability to be seen, and to just naturally live our purpose and our dreams and our gifts and our abilities and our talents. And it becomes this beautiful space and this beautiful place to be yourself, to be accepted as you, to be seen as you, because the decisions that are right for you may not be the decisions that are right for me, and vice versa. The decisions that are right for me may not be the decisions that are right for you. And the more and more that life goes on, the more deeply I really want each person to tap into what is that right decision for them, for you. What's the right decision for me? What's the right decision for you? And just trust that you are getting the answer for you, because ultimately it's you and God, you and Goddess. Like, you guys are the ones that are making the decisions for your life, and you know yourselves best. So trust that. And love on your teeth, brush them, floss. I'll give a little plug for those. Go to the dentist, get them clean here and there. Okay. If you're into that, if you're not, that's okay too. But I hope you have a fabulous week, and thank your teeth. Thank your teeth for helping you to break down big decisions and to bringing good things into your life. And I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. Make sure to check back each week for the newest content about your body and your wealth. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends and give it a 5-star review. Make sure to visit healinghopewithjamie.com for new offers, retreats, and ways to embody your wealthy life.